The Gymnastics team improves to 4-0 at home, including a record-breaking performance. Plus, we've got fencing and basketball for you. Access granted. OwlAccess Pass starts right now. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of OwlAccess Pass. My name is Dan Wilson. Sean McGean will be with us in just a little bit. But first, we'll start with some basketball highlights, as there's a lot to catch up on with both the men's and women's teams. And we'll start with the women's team, who had just enough to outlast UCF at McGonigal Hall last Wednesday. The Owls went up 12 in the third quarter, a lead they would entirely give up down the stretch. Sophomore guard Marissa Mackins led the way with 22 points and 5 boards, while the Owls shot 47.4% from beyond the arc in the game. An 8-0 fourth quarter run for Temple, along with 2 big defensive stops down the stretch, proved to be enough. Owls take down UCF 67-65.
I thought down the stretch, we obviously have to be a little bit smarter, but we found a way to pull another game that's close, pull it out at home. But I'm proud of my kids, how they stepped up again against a team that's really, really physical. And I don't remember the last time we beat them, so we got the monkey off our back with that.
To the Liacouras Center, where the Owls are just happy it's not January anymore. Versus ECU, the Owls started strong, racing out to an 18-4 lead in the first half. But remember that 9-minute scoring drought versus Penn? Well, it's drought part 2. The Owls went the final 10 minutes and 43 seconds of the half without a field goal and actually trailed by 2 at halftime. But in the second half, Aaron McKee's crew could do no wrong. Lots of strong defense, including this steal and a breakaway by Nate Pierre-Louis for 2 of his 14. Forget the 1-7 record in January. The Owls are 1-0 in February with a 76-64 win over ECU.
Like this, it can be easy to divert and go separate ways, but I just had to make sure I remained that glue guy for us and kept everybody together.
We get in trouble when we turn that ball over, and sometimes it's a result of when teams start to make shots, they start to make runs. As I just said, we get a little uptight. And the first thing I said to the guys when we came in at halftime was, relax. It's just basketball. Relax. Make the right play, make the right decision.
Now let's take a look at the Owls matchup from Wednesday when they traveled up to Hartford, Connecticut to take on UConn. The Huskies jumped up to an early lead on the Owls, which gave them a 15-point advantage at the half. Nate Pierre-Louis, Quentin Rose, and Jake Forrester combined for 45 points, but it wasn't enough for the Owls. UConn had 6 players finish in double figures, including senior guard Christian Vitale. He had 15 on the night, and he had a game-high 10 rebounds. Temple falls 78-63, getting them 6 losses in the AAC. The men's basketball team has struggled immensely since the turn of the new decade, leaving Owls fans searching for answers on how a once promising season has taken a turn for the worst. With just 10 games remaining in the regular season, time is running out to right the ship. For more on this, we turn to our very own Sean McGean. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Dan. The men's basketball team is certainly thankful that January is over the course of the month. The Owls not only went 1-7, but some games weren't even close. They lost one game by 26, another by 16, another by 15, and finally another one by 14. This stretch of 7 January losses dropped the Owls towards the bottom of the American Athletic Conference. The lone win, of course, came against a ranked Wichita State team, but it's hard to even be proud of that as a team after losing the other 7 games of the month. But perhaps the ugliest game of January came against UConn, who only had 1 conference win all season. The Huskies beat the Owls by 15 on their own court. You can also look to that Big 5 matchup versus Penn, where Temple didn't score a single point for the first 9+ minutes of the game, thus losing its chance at possibly earning sole possession of the Big 5 title in 2020. Mix those 2 games with 5 more conference losses, and you have one ugly start to the new year. The sloppy January came as a surprise after Temple's hot start to the season. The Owls started off by winning 5 of their first 6 games, which led to me giving them an A for the month of November in my mid-season report card. The team did slow down a bit in December, finishing the month at 4-2, but still a respectable B- for me and a 9-3 overall record at the new year. But by the time January came around, I'd have to call a parent-teacher conference because the Owls failed miserably. That's a big fat F on the report card. But I'll give you some silver lining, Temple fans. It cannot get any worse from here.
It was certainly a difficult month, Sean, but what do you chalk up as the main source of the struggles?
Well, Dan, there's a couple reasons, but I'm going to start with the guard play. You have one guard in Nate Pierre-Louis, who is at his best when he's driving to the rim, and another guard in Alani Moore, who really only shoots. This puts a lot of pressure on guys like Quentin Rose, who ends up taking questionable shots, and it makes the offense really predictable at times, and that leads to turnovers for the Owls and easy buckets for the other team. You can also look to Aaron McKee. It's his first year at head coach, and although I believe in Aaron McKee moving forward, that first year is really, really difficult with a new head coach for most programs. So I think he'll be good in the future, but right now, still some work to do.
All right, so Sean, here's the real question. Can they turn this thing around?
Well, Dan, former Temple head coach John Chaney used to say that February was winning time, but I don't see much winning in February for the Owls. I think they'll probably win a little bit more than they did in January. We saw that versus ECU, but the schedule's really, really tough. You have a matchup against Villanova, and they're currently ranked 10 in the AP poll. And then you have a matchup against Memphis, a really tough Memphis team coached by Penny Hardaway. And also you have that rematch against Wichita State and Kansas. Plus all the other games remaining on the schedule, other than those 3, are all conference games, and they're never a gimme. So I don't see the Owls improving much upon that 11-10 record.
Thanks so much, Sean. Well, the Temple Gymnastics team returned to the floor in McGonigal Hall on Friday night for a tri-meet. The Owls welcomed Ursinus and Bridgeport to North Broad Street. It's part of the Ken Anderson Invitational. The Owls improved to 4-4 on the year, taking down both the Grizzly Bears and the Purple Knights. The Owls posted a season high at 195, while Bridgeport posted a 194.175, and Ursinus posted a 187.200. The Owls set the tone early with a season high on the floor on bars, and the Owls came up with a 48.3, followed by a 49.1 on the beam. That was good enough for not only a season high, but actually the second highest beam score in program history. Ariana Castrins took part in the all-around competition for Temple, posting a score of 39.05.
It wasn't a perfect meet, but what I've been telling the team is they just need to have a complete meet. You know, the strength of the team is more than the strength of the individual. Even after bars today, they were like, okay, that wasn't what we do in the gym, but it was closer. So that's why I keep telling them, like, we're going to build on this. Do they like when they don't do their best? Absolutely not. But I think they're starting to understand that as a team, they just need to put it together and be complete.
The fencing team had a successful trip to Evanston, Illinois this past weekend, going 4-1 on day 1 and 3-2 on day 2. It was all part of the Northwestern Illinois multi-meet. The Owls were matched up against Stanford University of California, San Diego, Cornell, and Fairleigh Dickinson on Saturday, and Northwestern, Lawrence, Air Force, Denison, and Ohio State on Sunday. And the women's lacrosse season gets underway this Saturday at Howard Field when the Owls will take on George Washington University. Temple starts the season on a 6-game homestand, and 12 of 17 games this season will be played at Howard Field. The Owls are looking to improve upon their 6-11 mark of last year. The team is led by head coach Bonnie Rosen, who is set to begin her 14th season. That'll do it for this edition of OwlAccess Pass. Stay tuned to our social media pages at OwlSports Update for the latest on all things Temple sports, and for Courts in Session on Wednesday with Brian Steinmetz and Addison Hunsaker. For Sean McGeehan, I'm Dan Wilson. Have a great week, everyone.